For this video, I'm starting out with my staves already drawn because it took me a little while and I was very careful to make them very neat for you, or I at least tried to make them evenly spaced. So if we want to talk about rhythm in music and about how to tell the reader how long to press the notes for, here's how we go about doing it. It's all about how we draw these little circles. So just an open one like that is called a whole note. I'll have to start making notation here, whole note, which is a little bit deceiving name. It sort of counts as one, and everything else is a fraction of it, so it's the longest one that you're likely to write. But a lot of times we use what's called 4/4 time. That's just the most common one, maybe 3/4, but the 4 in the denominator means that a whole note is like 4 beats. It technically means that a quarter note gets 1 beat, but I just want to focus on the relationships between them for now. So I'll go to a new one. It's I guess I'll just write it on the next line lower. If we draw our oval and then we fill it in, okay? And it would be filled in completely, but I don't want to just sit here and scribble. But you fill it in, and then also, this is a note right now. This one isn't technically right yet. We have to add the tail thing, okay? And because it's right in the middle of the stave, it can go either way, and it, if it's right on this middle one, if it's E, G, B, right? Then you can draw it up like this, or you can draw it down, and it's just a matter of taste. But the sort of convention is the notes around it dictate it. So this one doesn't have a tail, but the next one I'm going to draw is going to be here. The next one I'm going to draw is lower. So I'll just go ahead and draw this up. So there's the tail part, and so I'll write it down here. If you have a filled-in oval with a tail in either direction, that is a quarter note. Quarter. Which, in my view, in my playing of music that I've done, this is sort of the fundamental one, because we're almost always in 4/4 time, and this almost always gets 1 beat. So as you're counting off, they say 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each of these is a quarter note. If you have 4 quarter notes in a row, that's how it's going to line up. And all 4 of those would be equal to 1 whole note, because this is 1/4 of the whole. It's like a $quarter. If you have 4 of them, it's equal to a whole dollar. That's the easy one to remember. So moving on, I'll use a new color for this one. If we have a not filled in oval, but it does have a tail, and this tail shouldn't go quite as high. It's supposed to go an octave, but I'm not doing a very good job to start with. A not filled in oval with a tail, and the tail direction doesn't matter. It's just where it is on the graph, so I could have drawn this down. But this without the tail is a half note. Half note. And you can just guess how many of those go into a whole note. That's equal to 2 of these. And just to show you that the tails don't matter, that one can go down. I do want it to be somewhat neat. So a whole note is equal to 2 half notes or 4 quarter notes. Pretty simple. And then for anything smaller than that, it sort of gets generalized. What it is, I'll draw 2 of them just for simplicity. I'll draw it a little bigger. So it's a filled-in circle, and then let's see. This is a little bit harder to explain, but you start with filled-in circles, and then they do have lines. This is the next smallest thing from quarter note. Okay, this is going to be an 1/8 note, and it'll be half as long. And so if you just have one of them, you draw sort of this flag thing. that you might have seen. It just kind of comes down like that. And if you have one standalone, that's how it's going to look. Okay. But then there's sort of this rule that if you have two of them next to each other, it's good practice to just connect them like that. And this is I'm sure you've seen this before in like the iTunes logo or whatever. It's a common symbol for music. And so to just draw one by itself, to just draw one, I'm just going to do the little flag thing. So that's called an whole, half, quarter, eighth is the next smallest fraction. Eighth, wait, E-I-G-H-T-H, eighth. However you spell eighth, that's what that's called. And, 8 of these make a whole note, which, I don't know, 8 times that, 8 times, equals 4 of those. So, two of these together, this little thing is the same amount of time as this one. But I don't want to mess up my manuscript with extra drawing. I want to make it very clear. So to play this song, well, first, what's the first note? I don't know if you have a piano in front of you, but I'm just going to show you how I would go about reading this if I were a pianist, which I am, a small time one, not particularly good. So I go by the spaces, F, A, C. That tells me I'm going to start on C. And then just looking ahead, I can kind of take a shortcut. I can see that it goes down by a whole step, down by another whole step, and then I repeat that note. So really I need the C. So that's my first note. And I think I played the rhythm about right, even though I wasn't trying to. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, and then 2 of those in the time that I played, 2 of these in the time it took me to play that one. Which normally you would try to make things add up to 4, which I didn't really do. I've got, well, I guess I could just write this out. This is 4 beats. I'll write it below, I think. So this first note is 4 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's worth 1. This one's worth 2. And then both of these together, I think I can just collectively say that that's worth 1. I'll put some brackets around. So let's see. I've got 4, 1, 2, and 1. And I do have an easy way to make this kind of divided into 4s, because the little lines going across music, which I should have given myself more room, but the little lines divided into, because my key signature is 4/4, which again I should write, now that I'm doing it right, I'll put it in the right place. 4/4 time. Okay. So that tells us that each measure, and a measure is the distance between the blue lines, which well, the first one is from the beginning of the music to this one. So, I have 4 in the first measure, which is good. I'm consistent with that. And then the second, I can go 1, 2, 1, there. And then, this whole measure from this bar line, or from this line to this line, is 4 again. 1 plus 2 plus 1. And there's one more thing I want to show you, is if I do something different here, I can put a dot after this note. And what that does, I'm trying to think how to write this. The dot after any note, any kind of note, I'll just put a whole note, but whatever it is, if it's a half note or an eighth note, a dot is equal to that note plus 1/2 of that note. So if you put a dotted half note, that's now worth 3. If I were to dot this, it would be equal to 4 plus half of 4. So that note would be 6 if I had a dotted whole note. If I were to dot the red one here, that would be worth 1 plus 1/2 of 1. So that would be 1.5 beats, which it just gets awkward to play that. That's not an easy note to play. But so now I have 1 and 3, so I want the bar line here like I already drew, and the first is 4, and then I would need something else over here, so I'll just quickly... There's another dotted half note, so now that adds up to 4, right? Because a dotted half note is worth 3. It's 2 plus half of 2, so 1. So that's a quick introduction to timing. I think that you're pretty well equipped for everything but triplets. I'll get triplets really quick. If you see something that looks like 3/8 notes together, okay, and then it has a little bracket thing above that says 3, that's called a triplet. I'm running over time a little bit, but it looks like eighth notes, but then it has a 3 above, and that means that you play 3 of these in 1 beat. So it's equal to a quarter note, I guess you could say, in the length of time. So like 1, 2, 3, and that's how long that takes. It's just 3 quick notes in the time it takes to play one of those. And I think that's pretty much anything that you'll ever come across. Just different combinations of these that that can make things difficult to play. I hope that was clear for you.